For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of the Dumb Marks podcast. Chris, how was your week?
Week was pretty good. I don't know about where everybody else that listens is living, but around here, I'm getting really sick and tired of the constant change of the weather right now. We're in that week where it's 30 degrees at night and it's almost 80 the next morning.
It's Pittsburgh, bro. You have all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah.
You wake up, it's winter. By 10 in the morning, it's fall. Around 2 or 3, it's summertime, and then the evening it's back to spring weather.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to dress in layers and take on or off depending on what time of day you go outside.
Exactly, and then the more it does this, the more people are going to be walking around with that question of cold or COVID.
Yeah, that's true too. I know. I'm battling allergies right now. Allergies are really bad for me right now, so I'm like afraid to cough or sneeze out in public right now because you don't want to get any dust stares.
Exactly.
But we're sitting here October 10th, and I'm outside with shorts and t-shirt on in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So go figure, right? How
was your week?
Not bad. Short work week for me. It was a very long work week, but a little 4-day weekend here. Some time to rest, recuperate, recharge the batteries, and excited to get into all this stuff that's going on this week.
Nice.
So what do you got? Anything you want to bring up in the intro before we get started with Bell to Bell on the show this week?
Yeah, a couple things looking ahead this week. For those of you that I know people are Team iPhone or Team Android, but I know me and you are Team iPhone. So the new iPhones, which are rumored to be the first 5G iPhones, are supposed to get announced this upcoming Tuesday, the 13th. This is pretty interesting to me because I'm looking forward to see what they have to say about it. I upgraded earlier in the year, so I'm on the 11 Pro right now. And whenever I got this phone, up in the top corner it had 5G. And I said to the guy, I was like, oh, so this is a 5G compatible phone? And he goes, no. I was like, well, AT&T doesn't have 5G yet, right? And he goes, no, we don't have it yet. I was like, so why does my phone say 5G? And I haven't understood that since...
Oh, don't get on the 5G conspiracy YouTube rabbit hole there. You'll be sitting in that for hours and wanting to throw away your phone.
So, yeah. So, I don't know, apparently if you want to have the 5G network, you have to upgrade to a 5G phone. You can't keep your previous phone.
Oh, like a 4K TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great.
So, we'll see what Tuesday has to... We can cover that next week with all the specs and everything. Next weekend, from Friday the 16th through Sunday the 18th, on YouTube, you can watch the Save Our Stages Music Festival. There's going to be 26 venues involved across the country with over 35 performers. The one I'm most looking forward to is Foo Fighters is going to be on. They haven't said what these artists are going to do, if it's just one song or if they're going to perform like a set list or not. But the whole point is to kind of raise money for all the performance venues that have lost so much money due to COVID. It's going to be on YouTube, so free. So I think it's something that could be fun to check out next weekend. 3 days of that. And I know one thing that me and you were really looking forward to, Sunday the 18th, the return of Supermarket Sweep.
I know, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Supermarket Sweep, along with Pressure Luck and some of the other old school game shows that used to be on TV. I just remember sitting in my grandmother's house, in my Grammy's house, watching Supermarket Sweep and some of those other game shows that used to be on. It just brings back good memories, nostalgia feel. Leslie Jones is hosting, so I think she'll be great at it.
Yeah, I think that was a good choice.
The old school Supermarket Sweep is on Netflix. So if you want to get reacclimated to what Supermarket Sweep is, go on Netflix. I was watching a couple episodes.
I did too.
Like I said, it's just nostalgia feel. It brings me back to good memories being around with my gram since she passed away a couple years ago. So hopefully those memories come back for people as well.
For those that, especially that might be younger listening to this, if you watch Guys Grocery Games on the Food Network, it's kind of like that, but without the cooking.
Right.
You know, so it's like the intro whenever they run around the store looking for stuff, and at the end whenever they're trying to get the money, you know, it's similar to that. And I think that's why I like Guys Grocery Games too.
Right. And then our weekly Cobra Kai update for all the Cobra Kai fans out there. Ralph Macchio tweeted out something earlier this week that I felt should have broke the internet. But Cobra Kai is going to release a video game.
Comes out October 27th. It looks like it's going to be across all platforms. So check out the trailer. I think it looks decent enough to play.
Yeah, I think it does too. I can't tell you my video game. So I'm excited for that. Maybe that'll get me to dust off the old controller on my end and sit down and play Cobra Kai. So super excited for that.
I think it might have said retailed for $40. So
yeah, I mean, average games nowadays start out at $60, and then they have additional packs that you can buy and everything else, and it can run upwards of, $100, $120 after you get all the additional packs and that. My son's a huge gamer, and he got, the gaming laptops and everything else, and so like I know how much money that stuff costs nowadays. So $40 is kind of like what we used to pay for Madden back in the day.
Yeah.
And then speaking of money and things, Howard Stern, whether you like him or hate him, renewed his deal with SiriusXM for a reported $120 million annually, which would make him the third highest paid CEO in the U.S. Stern, since signing with SiriusXM in 2005, reportedly or estimated has been paid over $1.2 billion with a B, which is about $80 million a year.
I remember whenever the news broke that he was going to Sirius XM, and that was big back then, and just, good for him.
Good for him. Good for him. Hopefully the Dumb-Marks at one point in time can get signed to a Sirius XM deal for, I don't know, $80,000. Yeah. I'll take that a year compared to $80 million. So
I might even take 80 a week right now.
Yeah. I mean, 800 something. You know what I mean? I don't need the 7 or 8, 9 zeros at the end of it. Just give me 3 or 4, and I'll be more than happy with that. So, all right. Well, that's all I got for the intro this week. Chris, you got anything else?
Nope. I know in Bell to Bell today we're gonna talk about NXT TakeOver 31 last week. We'll cover the WWE Draft. That night 1 that happened on SmackDown this week.
Big sports weekend to get into. A lot of stuff to cover in sports as well this weekend. So strap in, guys. Your Tons of Fun Power Hour begins now, and enjoy the rest of the show. All right, folks. Bell to Bell this week feels like a Texas tornado match with so much that's gone on in the world of professional wrestling. I don't know where to start or what to begin with, so I'm going to throw it over to my tag team partner, and Chris, you can kick us off this week for Bell to Bell.
All right, Steve. I mean, if you don't know where to start at the beginning. Last Sunday was NXT TakeOver 31. I thought the event was pretty decent. Going into it, my expectations were a little low just because I wasn't real thrilled with the matches that were announced. But it exceeded my expectations a little bit, but really kind of met them. What do you think of the event?
I liked it overall. I said this before, and it may or may not have been on the podcast, but to me, out of all the wrestling brands, NXT is the one where fans are missed the most.
Yes. So
takeovers, you feel the energy of a takeover. Mm. The crowd is constant. That the wrestlers feed off that vibe and everything else. So I feel like the card was good. But if you have that NXT crowd energy there, I may view this in a different way as far as TakeOver goes. I can't compare it to other ones in the past because, like I said, I feel NXT needs the crowd the most out of all the brands that are putting on shows right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to go down to Full Sail to see NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way back in 2014. That was the only event. I've seen a few NXT events, but that's the only one I went to at Full Sail. And it's still one of my favorite events just because the NXT crowd just loves that brand. And it was probably the most fun I've had at a wrestling show.
It's the modern day ECW crowd
really is.
without the old FUs and show your bleeps and everything else that ECW was known for. But as far as a rabid fan base, AEW has a rabid fan base, but it's a different crowd with AEW than NXT. NXT is so into the black and gold brand, and they really bring it every time. They've done pay-per-views NXT wise overseas, and you had the UK where everybody's singing Bailey's song and everything else. So I mean, the energy they bring just elevates the shows even more.
Yeah.
But overall, the card was good. My 3 standout matches were the 3 that I gave on the prediction show. Escobar and Swerve put on a hell of a performance. The women's match, like I called for match of the night, was really good. And then Balor and O'Reilly was just a hard-hitting physical match. Obviously, we saw the ramifications from that with Finn Balor having a fractured jaw in 2 places. So really done well. We'll see what the fallout is from there. I know some of the things that they wanted to do, especially with like Rich Holland and Adam Cole at the end of the show, that kind of got pushed to the back burner now after Rich had a gruesome looking injury on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
so
that was such a fluke.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't said what exactly it was, but he got stretchered out. It was a legitimate injury, so I don't know where they're going to go now with that. They were teasing it up as if he was a paid hitman to take out Adam Cole, so I was curious to know where they were going to go with that storyline. And again, they've been riddled with bad luck with injuries, starting with Karrion Kross and now Balor and then Ridge. So hopefully they get off the injury bug here and can get where they wanted to go with storylines moving forward.
Yeah, I hope so too. I did read on the Bleacher Report this week that WWE had reported that Holland dislocated and broke his ankle, as well as dislocated and ruptured his patellar tendon.
Yeah, that's normally how it happens when you take a fall like that. It was nasty. It was gruesome. You knew it was serious when they stretchered him out. Normally if you like tear an ACL or an MCL, something like that, or even like a ruptured quad that we saw with Hunter years ago on 2 different occasions, you can kind of carry the wrestler to the back. But yeah, that was nasty. So unfortunate for Ridge. They were pushing him kind of hard from the start here and elevating him up to put him in a feud with Cole right away. So would have liked to see where that went, and who knows where we go from here now.
Yeah, it looks like he did have surgery Thursday, but right now no timetable for a return. So I'm sure he's going to be out for a good bit. But hopefully they'll, because right now it kind of feels like you don't know what's going on with the Undisputed Era.
Right.
So hopefully they're able to move this storyline along. Maybe whoever paid off Ridge, pays off somebody else. They bring somebody else into the mix now. But
yeah, and then the other big thing from TakeOver, and that was the return of Ember Moon. Chris, how'd you feel about Ember's comeback to the black and gold brand?
It wasn't who I wanted. It wasn't my number 1 choice, but I'm okay with it because I do feel like the women's division down NXT needed a little bit of a shot of adrenaline in it right now. So at the same time that Ember returned, Toni Storm announced her return too. So I felt that's 2 good injections. This week Ember on NXT spoke and wrestled. I liked her new look, a little bit different than what she had done before. I didn't notice any real ring rust with her this week.
No, that was the biggest thing for being off for over a year. I mean, she looked like she didn't skip a beat ring-wise. I, too, felt that it kind of fell flat only because you just had Toni Storm pop up and claim Tony time and coming back to NXT, and then you reveal Ember Moon right after that. So it's kind of weird that they did back-to-back reveals for that case. There's a good article on Ember out there that you guys want to go look out and seek, detailing all the struggles and adversity that she faced with her injury and what she had to do just to get back. And it really was career-ending, so to speak. When COVID hit, there was a bunch of scar tissue and everything. that built up because she wasn't able to do the physical therapy that she needed to on the road to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And Edge actually reached out to her after he ruptured his Achilles a couple years ago and was able to come back within, I think, 6 or 7 months. He gave her a plan and told her what to do in order to keep herself on the road to coming back. So really good article there. Read up on that if you guys want to. I'm just happy to see Ember back. I feel she'll bring another facet to the women's division in NXT.
Yeah.
And her and Io seems to be the big time money feud right there.
Yeah. I like Io as champion. I'm glad she retained this past week. And I think it'll lead to her probably dropping to somebody of a bigger name, whether it be Ember retaining, Toni Storm getting her first victory. We're also in the women's division right now. We're seeing kind of like the hot feud is Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. They're just two big women, that I do not want to see walking down a dark alley because I know both of them could kick my ass. And I think that's kind of like the feud that they're really building up to be the big money feud in NXT right now. And maybe it'll eventually lead to Rhea reclaiming the NXT Women's Championship, I could see her being built back up to getting the title shot at WrestleMania or the takeover around WrestleMania again next year.
Yeah, and since you brought up, dark alleys and being afraid and reveals that we've talked about here, I think the only thing to touch on from Monday Night Raw would be Retribution and the reveal that Mustafa Ali is the leader of Retribution. I can care less. I really can. It doesn't do anything for me. Bully Ray tweeted out a poll afterwards. Do you love or hate Retribution now that you know? And it was still, I want to say, almost 60% hate Retribution in the storyline. So, Ali, interesting. I mean, I guess if you look back over the course of Retribution and how they rolled out, you could see how Ali ties into being the leader. They all wear the face mask. Ali debuted with a face mask.
Mm-hmm.
He's been forgotten about since he got injured, and Kofi went on his run, taking his place to get the title shot at Mania, which probably would have went to Ali. So there's been things that have gone on that you could see and look back and go, oh yeah, I can understand why. The whole hacker storyline that was on SmackDown, then it just immediately ended. There was a good thread out there by, I forget the guy's name on Twitter, but
I was just looking it up too, and it doesn't look like I saved it.
He put out an interesting thread on the breakdown as the reason why each member of Retribution has a gripe. Done really well. Probably the best creative that's been done on a WWE storyline. And
WWE really should hire that guy.
Right, yeah. Sign him up immediately.
But yeah, he did break that down, just like you said, with the hacker storyline and everything. Tied it all together.
Because
like Ali, I guess the lights turned out with Ali, and he goes, Ali is the light.
Right.
That's what.
Right, so we'll see what happens on night 2 of the draft for that. But that's Raw. I don't have nothing else to say about Raw. There's a lot more to get into from the rest of the week with wrestling-wise goes.
I like Ali. I'm not interested in him being the leader of Retribution, but I like him as a talent. So that's the only reason why I'd be interested in following along Retribution, to see what he does with it. That's it.
All right, and then moving along in the week here going forward. TNA is slowly building up to their Bound for Glory pay-per-view. They had Victory Road last weekend. Some decent matches. Like we said last week, I don't know why you put an event on right before your biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Literally in the same month.
A couple weeks apart. But it definitely did further storylines. This week they set up more intrigue for the card. And as you know, you got Eric Young and Rich Swann for the title there. Moose and EC3 have had a really good storyline going for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. That match will be off-site, so I wonder if they're going to venture into the whole movie-esque style matches that we've seen from AEW with the Stadium Stampede and WWE with the Boneyard match.
I think this will be interesting because when TNA really started the cinema matches with the Hardy stuff,
Right.
And
with the deletion.
Yeah, and when Matt and Jeff left TNA, the whole thing was who owned the rights to it. Did TNA own it or did the Hardys own it? I believe the Hardys end up getting the rights to everything.
They did.
But then not long after that, Jeremy Borash left, and then left TNA to go to WWE, and I think NXT.
Yeah,
really.
he's in NXT. So.
And a lot of the rumor was that Jeremy Borash had a lot to do with that too. So, we'll see now. Was it more TNA doing that? Was it their, creative, or was it really, the Hardys and Jeremy Borash and whoever else was involved with that? So we'll see, because I don't know if they've done a cinematic match since the Hardys.
I don't believe they have. I haven't seen, to my recollection, no. But I mean, the card itself for Bound for Glory is a solid card right now. I mean, you have I
like Jordan being in the X Division.
Jordan
match.
Grace added in the X Division match. She fits in well there.
Yeah.
Those 5 people will put on a hell of a performance. With that,
that's one thing I'll give TNA credit for, or Impact. They're not afraid to put women against the men. That really kind of started in the U.S. with Lucha Underground.
Right.
And, Impact's really, started carrying the ball with that, with Tessa being the champion for a while earlier this year. And her and Jordan and a few others have fought men, the past couple years. And, I think that's a whole separate part of the women's movement, is that, they can carry their own no matter what title it is. And I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, and then they also announced for Bound for Glory, it'll also be available in French, German, and Spanish on Fight TV.
Oh,
so, using platforms like Fight TV is big. We see that with NWA, with the Primetime Live episodes that they've put on. Those have been on Fight. Get more eyes and more people drawn to the product here moving forward. So hopefully Impact comes through with Bound for Glory like they did with Slammiversary, and they can carry momentum on to 2021 and that moving forward. So next thing that I want to bring up just real quick and touch on, we have the second round of the Pure title tournament for ROH.
Okay.
It's
going
going to start today. Really good. It's been an awesome tournament to watch. Ring of Honor has done extremely well with it. So I know a lot of people may have forgotten about Ring of Honor because they, like NWA, they've been gone this entire time during the pandemic. But this is an excellent way to bring Ring of Honor back into the fold as far as professional wrestling goes. And, today's matchups, you have Jay Lethal and David Finlay in Block A, and then Jonathan Gresham and Matt Sydal on the other side in Block B. So that'll go really well. I think both of those matches will be really strong and put on a good show with those 4 people.
Yeah.
And then you have Woods and PJ Black in the bottom of Block B, and Williams and Ye in bottom of Block A. So again, I still think we're building to the Lethal versus Gresham in the finals. They're moving forward, but that was it's been really enjoyable to watch and nice to see Ring of Honor back at it here moving forward. So if you haven't tuned in for that. Really, really good there. And then we have G1 night 13 continues. Current standings from there. A block, you have Jay White, Okada, Ibushi, and Ospreay all have 8 points. So they lead the pack there in Block A. Block B, you have Naito sitting at the top of the bracket in Block B, and Evil's right behind him. Naito has 10 points. He's 5-1, and Evil's 4-2 with 8 points. Surprisingly, though, in Block B in that tournament, Kenta is only 2-4 and only has 4 points. I thought he would have done better in this tournament. I thought he would have been somebody that they could push strongly, considering that he just won the North American
he's
belt, the North American champion, right?
no, he has a shot. He's the number 1 contender for the United States Championship. I'm trying to think of what that tournament was called, and I forget as well. Was that the G1? Like, was that the G1 for here or something? But,
Yeah, it was here in the States. But
I know it was on the Friday Night Strong show. But yeah, I agree. I figured since they kind of pushed him for being here in the U.S. market that maybe he would be a little bit higher, but maybe since they are pushing him here, they didn't want to push him too much on the main product. But I think he's going to end up being when Moxley can return to New Japan. Whenever that's going to be, and Kenta does get his shot, I think the belt's going to go on Kenta for a number of reasons, but mostly because they're really trying to establish the U.S. market right now, and if they're going to really establish that Friday night show on New Japan World, they need a champion, number one. If it's him, then the U.S. fans already know him from being in NXT.
Right.
So...
Yeah, so keep your eye on that as that progresses moving forward with the G1. So continuing on this Texas Tornado style bell-to-bell breakdown, AEW this week, Celebration in Jericho.
30 years.
30 years in the business. Hats off. Round of applause to Y2J, Lionheart, the Ayatollah, Rock and Roller, the Demo God, the Le Champion, whatever you want to call him. The man is literally a living legend right now in the world of professional wrestling.
Definitely one of the best. Lucky enough to have met him a couple times over the years, and seems like a genuinely nice guy in real life. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. He's held almost every title imaginable. 9-time Intercontinental Champion, 10-time Intercontinental Champion if you count his New Japan Intercontinental title victory. First AEW World Champion. Has been in almost every promotion imaginable, and carrying on his legacy in AEW. He's been great on commentary. The past few months, especially during COVID, whenever he stepped in, I think he really did find, what his retirement plan could be if he wanted to do it.
Right.
But, yeah, hats off to Jericho for 30 years.
Yeah, and I know some people weren't happy with the main event, but, I mean, it's Jericho's night. He's, you put him on last. Him and Luther have 30 years of history together. Yeah. They did a great job of breaking that down in the video package.
I'm sure it's what he handpicked for his match to be.
Let him have it. It's his night. Let him do what he wants to do. He wants to put his friend over, so to speak, and get Luther the U.S. national recognition that he's deserved for being the king of the death match, and has fought some of the top-notch people all over the world and has beaten some of the top-notch people all over the world. So, that is what it is there. I thought Dynamite kicked off with a hell of an opener between Haas on Haas with Cage and Will Hobbs.
They really did.
Great showing for Hobbs. He's young and you can tell he still has way to go, but Taz put him over strong on commentary. The offer to join Team Taz at the end of the show or at the end of the match just elevates him even more.
Yeah, that definitely caught me by surprise when Taz did that. But
Darby Allin comes out to make the save. You don't get a response from Hobbs, so it leaves the door open for where he might want to go and where that storyline wants to go. So well done there.
I mean, if say Hobbs does decide to join Team Taz, which it would surprise me just because he's still new, but it would develop him early on. If him and Cage would form, whether they are standalone or they would form a team, anytime the two of them would go against somebody, I don't know, they have to be unstoppable.
Yeah, and finishers nowadays aren't protected, right? Everybody kicks out everybody's finisher. using the spine buster and calling it the last will and testament, that's a hell of a way to bring a finisher on for somebody that can use that move because he is so big and powerful. You can see that being his finisher going forward. So hopefully they protect that. I'm sure he asked Arn Anderson to sign off him using it. Arn has said on his podcast that he would never begrudge somebody using it. Even though he invented the move, he's the man that started it and perfected it. But Will Hobbs throws one hell of a great spine buster.
I agree.
So good to him. Good match. Way to open the show. We talked about Jericho in the main event. And then I guess the other big takeaway, well, two big takeaways for me from the show. First off, Kenny Omega on the microphone. I've seen a lot of back and forth, good, bad, and different. To me, I did not like this promo at all by Omega. I don't think it set him up well for being the best in the world.
Sure.
I mean, going back to looking at performers that are on his caliber, the knock on AJ Styles for years was he can't cut a promo. AJ now is a great talker. He's great on the mic now. Back AJ TNA days, let's keep the microphone out of his hands.
He's not the best, but he's definitely gotten a whole lot better.
He's gotten a whole lot better, and he started that, I think, when he left TNA and then the Bullet Club run and everything else. He's been good on the mic ever since he came into WWE.
Being WWE champion, having to carry that SmackDown brand that he did for over a year, I think that really helped him out, too. Whoever helped him behind the scenes, I don't know, but I'm sure he had some help there. But
yeah, ring-wise, Omega unquestionably is one of the best in the world. There's no doubt about that. He has a long way to go on the microphone, in my eyes, to be a consistent main event draw in the States. It's not New Japan. You don't just get over by having 60-minute Iron Man matches with Okada and doing all the great moves and everything else. You got to be able to talk on the mic and draw people in.
You got to sell the pay-per-view.
Got to sell the pay-per-view. You got to put asses in seats, as they like to say. So we'll see if Omega can turn up the heat on the microphone. I know if they go with him winning this tournament, and whether it's Moxley or Archer, I don't see Omega being able to carry the stick with Moxley or against Jake the Snake, cutting promos for Archer. So we'll see where that goes from there. I don't know, any other thoughts from you on Omega's promo?
No, I do agree with you. He's never been the best on the mic, but in New Japan, it wasn't about your mic skills. It was about what you could do in the ring. So, but like you said, he's here in the United States wrestling full time now. It's a different type of skill set that you need. And he has some of the best talkers in AEW. So there's no reason that he can't get better, Right, he has time.
He has time, but you have Arn, you have Tully, you have Dustin Rhodes, you have Jericho. Just rattling names off the top of my head.
Taz.
Taz was great on
the list can probably go on and on.
So you have people that you can learn from and develop to be able to come across legitimate on the microphone that backs up your in-ring work. So we'll see where that goes from there. And then the only other thing that I want to touch on is the dog collar match. Done really well. Love the tribute, bringing Greg the Hammer Valentine in for
that was a nice surprise.
What is the most famous dog collar match in all of wrestling history. The one thing I will say in Impact was, I believe it was Impact that was quick to tweet this out. JR and everybody's like, oh, it hasn't been seen in years, 27 years since we've seen a dog collar match, this and that. And Impact was quick to tweet out, no, actually, Rosemary and Su Yung had one in 2019, I believe, 2018, 2019. And they were right. That match between Rosemary and Su Yung was really good and done just as well as Wednesday nights was.
Yeah, I didn't see the one in Impact, so I wasn't aware of that one until you tweeted it out the other night. But I like the match. To me, it's one of those things that you should have saved that for the end of the show, because I think just like the build up for it. But it was more on Jericho's night, But so I won't go too much into that. But I can see why these matches don't take place too often, because I felt like that chain really tied them up in a few spots, literally. To where like the move didn't connect the way it should have because the chain just interfered in the match. And
on the flip side of that coin, it makes it real.
Yeah.
It makes it, you know what I mean? It's not going to come off silky smooth. It's going to be rugged. It's going to be ugly. You're going to have quote unquote botches during the match because you are literally strapped to a chain around your neck. So I can see where that goes.
I think I remember the one time, I think Brody Lee was going to try to hang Cody over the ropes.
It was too long.
Yeah, and it was too long, and then Cody's arm kind of got tangled up in the chain too.
Right.
But I will give JR credit in the commentary team because they then reversed that. They were like, "Oh, Jericho's arm or Cody's arm's trying to block it, to release some of the pressure."
Right.
So they definitely tried to spin the match the best they could on the commentary to say, okay, yeah, something just didn't go the way it was supposed to, but this is why it didn't, and things like that.
Yeah. So Cody's successful, wins the TNT belt back, cuts the babyface promo afterwards. I got the whole Rocky IV vibes at the end of the fight. If you can change, and I can change, and we can change, and it was, you're the fans, and I love you, and I'm in this with you together. So I got those types of vibes from him.
Which, the past few weeks, everybody was just like, okay, is Cody turning heel?
Yeah, Cody's heel, black hair. Yeah. He brought that up too. So I guess the biggest question for me coming out of this, and it set up Cody and Orange Cassidy for next week's anniversary show, which is a stacked lineup in and of itself. Hell of a card set up for that. But is the Dark Order done? Like Brody Lee done after this loss? I mean, you give him the 3-minute squash win. They've been booked up and down since he's come in as the Exalted One. I feel like he's one of the people where they've killed his momentum. So now it's like, do you really take the Dark Order seriously at this point? I don't know. He talked a big game, barked a big bark, but in the end, he lost the fight.
And you hit the nail right on the head with that. He lost the fight. A lot of times the Dark Order gets involved. What was it? A lot of the times Brody and Colt were tagging. Brody handed Colt the win, to boost Colt's confidence or whatever he's really trying to do with Colt there. And whenever Colt lost the match a few weeks ago, Brody was just like, I handed that to you. How did you fail? So the only person that Brody has to blame is himself on this. So as you saw after the match, Dark Order came out and stood on the stage and was just shocked. I didn't feel they really needed to come out. I didn't think that really added anything other than, okay, where do we go from here type aspect.
Right.
I've talked about this in the past with you. I've never been a Dark Order fan since inception. So here we are a year later on Dynamite, and I've never really cared about the Dark Order in that year. There are some people in the Dark Order that I do like that I think are talented, like 10. I think he has the look, and I think he could have a good future on his hands, especially in AEW. When Brody came on as the Exalted One, kind of made me a little interested, but didn't give me enough interest in the Dark Order, to care even more. I felt the whole storyline with Colt hasn't gone anywhere. So
basically you're shitting on the Dark Order.
I'm not shitting on them completely. What I think this does for them with Brody's loss the other day is take a step back, reevaluate, and how can we give them a shot in the arm that boosts them better and makes them better.
All right, well, after you took a deuce all over them, we'll move on to another brutal match. Last night, SmackDown, Falls Count Anywhere, Sheamus and Big E. Love the brutality in this match. Them two really went at it. Hell of a match. My only gripe, why do you have eggs and flour and catering? And why are they involved in a Falls Count Anywhere match? Like, is that a callback to New Day throwing out pancakes and eggs and flour to make your own pancake batter? I don't know. To me, that was that whole spot right there was just going, it's WWE. That's what WWE does.
Yeah.
Like, take that out. You don't need that in that match. That match was brutal. That match was up until that point, and then from that point forward, that match was just as brutal as the dog collar match between Brody and Cody. And you could argue for one over the other, depending on what you brought to that argument. Yeah. You don't need that spot in that match. To me, I was like, kind of a letdown that you had to throw in the WWE style of match and add
It's
in
what they do, unfortunately.
I know, but it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was a hell of a match. Afterwards, you saw Woods and Kofi come back. Woods sporting the Consequences Creed hair that he had back in TNA, with the fro. And right there, you kind of, if you watch on a regular basis or you've paid attention to WWE over the years, that right there was kind of like, oh, what's going to happen moving forward? You had the draft. Kofi and Woods comes back. And later we get the announcement, tag team title match. Soon as Steph makes the announcement, in my head, I'm like, oh, New Day's winning, 9 times champs. Then they're going to get drafted to Raw. They did that. However, it's not the whole New Day going to Raw. It's just Kofi and Woods. He's drafted to SmackDown right afterwards. And we have the end of the New Day.
Yeah, and, who know? We never know what's going on with WWE, how they do stuff, Was the New Day finding out they were split up right then and there, or did they know ahead of time?
By the looks on their faces, that was like legit shock and awe.
Yeah.
And I talked about that on our breakdown of night 1 of the podcast. I missed those general real reactions from superstars when their name gets called. I know Shane Helms tweeted out that he never liked the draft, wasn't a fan of the draft. The talent really didn't like the draft because sometimes they didn't know until their names were called.
Yeah.
Because Vince wanted those natural reactions. So if they did that to the New Day, by their reactions, they legitimately were shocked that, hey, what do you mean we're no longer a trio?
Yeah. And I texted you last night that it reminded me of when JR got drafted to SmackDown, however many years ago that was. And because he just looked at the camera and was just like, really? This is really happening right now? And that's how I felt, more so that Xavier and Big E were looking like. I think you could actually see tears in Big E's eyes by the end of that segment. And I think that all 3 of them probably are going to be sad that it's gone. But this is interesting because I want to see, everybody's been talking that they want to see what happened. They wanted to see a Big E singles run after Kofi got his. We kind of got that the past few months, while Kofi was away injured. And I didn't feel like WWE did enough with Big E as a singles competitor in that time. So we're going to get it now. But I think what this ultimately is going to remind me of is when the Dudleys got split up in 2002. They got split up in the initial draft. Bubba went his way. Devon went to SmackDown. And by Survivor Series of 2002, they were put back together. I think that's what's going to happen at some point. Whether it may be another draft, they reunite. But I think at some point we'll see them reunite. It's just they want to do something different. I think that the whole point of it was shock and awe.
Shock and awe, yeah, definitely. And for this Big E singles push, I know you mentioned you on the breakdown that you think Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble. My pick to win the Men's Royal Rumble right now is Big E, and you have him and Roman at Mania.
Okay.
So that's that there, just based off of how they're coming out of the draft. Looking forward, where I'd like to see them go, because I think Roman and Big E puts on one hell of a match with them two. And then speaking of Roman, Don Corleone himself sitting behind the table.
That was a great segment.
Awesome. I told Roman is in this groove right now, and if you listen to him on Corey Graves' podcast from a couple weeks ago, this is exactly who he wanted to be the entire time on the main roster. Heyman added in is that extra layer that puts it over the edge.
Yeah.
And he's his own hitman. And, I get the stipulation within the stipulation, the I Quit match within Hell in a Cell. We'll see. To me, it ends up being that, the consequences of this is, hey, you're out of the family. Just like you would in a regular mob family. I can't handle somebody looking at my title. I can't handle you wanting to be the head of the mafioso, constantly looking over my shoulder to see what you're going to do behind my back. So I'm just going to take you out before you get that chance. And this is what I think they go with as far as consequences for their Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. I don't necessarily need this stipulation in the stipulation match. I would have been okay. Like I said, part of the thing that I didn't enjoy out of their opening match at Clash of the Champions was I didn't feel it was brutal enough. I think we're going to get that in this one. I just don't really need the making Jay say I quit. And one of the things I didn't understand in the draft is, why is Jay by himself in the draft?
Well, Jimmy's still hurt right now. So I don't think he's scheduled to be back until the beginning of the new year.
Okay.
Which is kind of why they have him listed by himself. So I don't know what happens with that. Maybe they run a free agent route with them, and we can get them to sign as free agents to Raw or SmackDown.
The thing that I really want to see out of this, and I don't know if you'll agree or not on this, they once did the Bloodline with Roman and the Usos. I think that's something that they can revisit. Yes, Roman did say in this promo that he's his own hitman. But I think to have... Because if Jimmy's injured still, he can still be on TV. I don't think that's an issue, where he couldn't just appear with the three of them and be whatever, Whether they are the hitmen or they just do their own thing, or, hey, I beat you so bad, you're just going to be my bitch from now on, and you're going to stand by me and do what I tell you to do no matter what. I'd like to see that get there, because I don't think Jay's going to be in the main event much after this feud's done.
No, but he's elevated himself and has cashed in on this opportunity for sure.
I would never say anything bad about the Usos, because I think both of them are so talented. The whole family.
The last thing that I want to bring up from SmackDown last night, to close the show, The Fiend, Kevin Owens. A lot of people were complaining.
Hold on, before you get in that, you said the last thing you want to talk about. You're going to try to avoid Sasha and Bayley, aren't you?
Look, we I hate it. I absolutely hate it. They did the bait and switch last night.
They did.
Right? All to get him to be into the cell. I feel like they're rushing it. It's not needed now. However, I will tell you this. WWE really trusts Sasha Banks with Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah.
She's the only one in the women's division that has competed in every women's Hell in a Cell match. First one was Charlotte, then with Becky, now with Bayley. So they really trust her in there with whoever's across from her in the ring. So that's great. I'm disappointed, because to me you're blowing something off that can be a long-term storyline that WWE sadly needs as far as long-term storytelling goes.
I agree.
So I'm skipping over it because I'm just sad and disappointed at this point.
Yeah, and I think we still have to go into night 2 of the draft to find out really what goes on. Then will lead to Hell in a Cell, and there's still many weeks before we know what the whole wrap-up's going to be with this storyline and where it goes, but okay.
Main event, The Fiend, Kevin Owens. To me, this was done perfectly for 2 reasons. One, I absolutely love The Fiend and Alexa Bliss together, Sister Bliss. That if they break them up in this draft on night 2, I will riot, as the ECW one night only fan said. If Cena wins, we riot.
Yeah.
They break them 2 up, I'm gonna riot. That's just, they're perfect together.
They are.
It's shaping up to where she controls The Fiend, and Sister Abigail, Sister Bliss, has that power over The Fiend. And then, to me, I'm excited for Kevin Owens, and I say this only because what do we know about everybody that is in the ring with The Fiend?
You tweeted this, so I'm going to let you continue it.
They change, right? The Fiend changes everybody. In my eyes, this is going to change Kevin Owens back to being the prize fighter KO.
Okay.
The guy that turned on Sammy at the end of NXT Our Revolution. The guy that showed up and put Cena in his place and stomped on the U.S. title and held the NXT belt above Cena and saying, no, this is more important because I hold this. I'm the prize fighter. I'm the guy. That's the KO that's been missing. That's the KO that I love. That's the Kevin Owens that I want moving forward. And I believe getting into the ring with The Fiend, having him change back to that prize fighter KO, is just going to put him back on the main event scene where he needs to be.
I can't even say anything else. I completely agree 100% with what you just said.
Whether or not they'll do it, I don't know. But that's how I would book it. You know, as Bully Ray says, if I have the pencil, that's how I book it. And to me, that's the only way that you go.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, since you agree, I got nothing else to say on it. That's been Bell to Bell this week, folks.
Chug, 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 chug.
This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by the good old Puke and Rally. We've all been there before. Dust yourself off and get back in the game, champ.
Puke and Rally.
Puke and Rally.
This week, the Dunmarks are drinking Southern Tier Cold Brew Coffee Pumpkin. This is labeled as an Imperial Pumpkin. Probably our most alcohol for a beer so far. This is going to be 8.6%.
Whew. All right, let's give it a try. I'll tell you what, before you even go to sip it, first thing you notice is the smell. You smell the coffee. Mm-hmm. This is my first time trying a cold brew coffee. I've seen other brands have, cold brew beers. Pumpkin is obviously known for their pumpkin ale. It's one of the most sought after pumpkin ales.
Yeah, pumpkin's
that's out
probably
there.
One of the biggest every year.
It's one of the biggest every year. So they ventured into the cold brew coffee brewing market that's become more and more popular. But yeah, like I said, I smelled the coffee right away. To me, it doesn't taste like a pumpkin ale at all. I'm getting the cold brew, the coffee taste of it, for sure.
I'm a couple of sips in. Absolutely agree with what you said. Whatever you bring it up and you smell it, that's all you're smelling is the coffee. That nothing else. The first sip I took, all I tasted was coffee. The second sip I took, I got some of the spices from the pumpkin, and then the third sip I took, all I got was coffee again.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I've never had a beer where different sips taste differently like that. Like I'm actually kind of surprised that I'm not getting everything all at the same time.
Right. Yeah. It says it's an ale with natural pumpkin and coffee flavors. I agree with you. I believe the coffee stands out more than the pumpkin for sure. So if you're looking for a pumpkin ale, I wouldn't recommend this one to you. I would just go with the standard pumpkin or any of the other pumpkin ales that we've reviewed so far on the Drink of the Week segment. So yeah, definitely taste the coffee. For it being a cold brew coffee beer, if this is what people are putting out, I'm okay with drinking these. Okay. But that's as a person that likes coffee. If you don't like coffee, I would stay away from this completely because you're going to taste coffee.
I think this is a beer if you like coffee.
Absolutely.
I don't think that this is a beer that if you're not a coffee person that you're going to want to drink.
Not at all.
Because again, especially like if you like pumpkin beers but you don't like coffee, the coffee aspect of it, you need to enjoy this beer. I like coffee, so I'm okay with the coffee part of it. I just feel like all I'm getting is more coffee than I'm getting pumpkin.
All right, so sumo scale, 1 to 5 sumos. What would you rate the Southern Tier Coffee Brew Pumpkin?
I like pumpkin, and I like Southern Tier. This one's a miss for me. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
I agree with you. I'm on the lower end of the sumo scale as well. I think the more I drink it and like the aftertaste that stays with you, to me it's not. It's almost like drinking a bad cup of coffee. Yeah, aftertaste wise, it's kind of bitter.
I was gonna say it kind of tastes like burnt beans. A little bit.
Burnt beans, yeah, exactly. It's like your burnt gas station coffee.
Yeah, because Starbucks uses burnt beans, and that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, definitely can tell that. I'm gonna go with a swing and a miss as well on my end. So I'll go with let's say about a 2.25. 1.25. Just not a big fan of the aftertaste. First smell and first sip, I was on board with it, but the more I'm drinking it and the aftertaste, I'm not a fan of the burnt bean flavor.
Yeah, and I really do enjoy Southern Tier's beer, so I was looking forward to this. I like pumpkin every year. I've had some of their other variations of pumpkin. Last year I went down to the one down the North Shore. I tried, they had a chai tea pumpkin. Didn't think I was going to enjoy that because I just like,
chai tea,
yeah. but it works because of the spices that you get with the chai tea. I really like that. I thought it was a decent beer. So that's why I kind of thought I'd like this, because I like some of their other variations they've done in the past. But yeah, unfortunately for me, 2.5 is probably being very nice to them on it.
All right, folks, so 2.5 for Chris. I'll give it a 2.5 on my end. And by all means, don't take this to end-all, be-all. If you want to get out there and try it yourself, go for it. Let us know what you think, whether we're right or wrong. And as always, with the Drink of the Week segment, we ask you to pick up your glasses, your bottles, your cans, your shots, whatever you're toasting with us this week, and to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be.
Cheers.
Salute. All right, this week in sports, folks, we got a lot to get into around the world of professional sports. We saw the WNBA wrap up with their champion, Seattle Storm. Looks like to be the start of a dynasty there. With that team, hell of a performance by some of their superstars, Sue Bird, Breanna Stewart. They sweep. They win 3-0 in their series. So congratulations to them. Last night, Friday night, we had 2 Game 5s going on at the same time, and both were just epic games from a fan standpoint. It's what you want as far as playoff baseball and NBA Finals Game 5. Heavyweight title fights, throwing haymakers back and forth with each other. The Rays and Yankees, the Rays get the 8th inning go-ahead home run with a team filled of former Pirates. So if you're a Pirates fan, you got to just be sitting there and just disgust knowing that all these players, and not only that from the Rays, but also within the playoffs are dominating for other teams. Yeah. You had Cole versus Glasnow last night, starting pitchers. They were both on the Pirates. Austin Meadows gets a big home run. You have Mark Melancon from the Braves that are going into the National League Championship Series. So hell of a game. Like I said, you don't want anything else. The drama of it coming down with a game-winning home run off of a 101 mile an hour fastball is just something that you, as a little kid playing baseball or wiffle ball or whatever in the backyard or on the diamond, you dream of hitting. I think we've all been there at some point in time. Claiming the home run, the finger point. Babe Ruth calling a shot. It's just something that you won't forget as a player.
Who hasn't done that? Anybody that played any baseball growing up. Even if you weren't on a team and you just played with some friends. Everybody's done it at one time or another.
Right, and then Game 5 from the NBA, man.
Oh my God!
What a just absolute barn burner down the stretch there. LA continued to climb, and it Miami just kept holding them off. It would get down to 4 to 3 points, and then Miami would go back up by 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. Didn't seem like LA could get over the hump. LeBron James and Jimmy Butler just put on shows last night. I mean,
it was really their games.
It was their games. I think Jimmy Butler played all but 48 seconds of that game last night.
It's insane.
Insane. Triple-double, put his team on his back. Duncan Robinson hit big 3 after big 3 after big 3. AD got banged up there, so we'll see what his health is going forward in the Game 6 on Sunday. But he had, a basket there to put them up by 1 down the stretch. First time the Lakers lose with the Mamba jerseys on. I know they wanted to close it out and win it with Kobe's jersey on, but Jimmy Butler's will to win last night. And, Eric Spoelstra, head coach for the Heat, around NBA circles is talked about as one of the greatest coaches. I believe he needs to be in that discussion. He's 11-6 in elimination games when his team faces elimination. So you got to give your hats off to him. Hell of a coaching job there. I know people are bashing LeBron today for passing up, not taking the last shot there. But, hey, Michael Jordan passed up on the shot, gave the ball to Steve Kerr. He also gave the ball to John Paxson. Both of them came through and hit game-winning shots in the finals. If you're Danny Green, you got to knock that down. And I think instead of taking the three, they had 4 people around LeBron. He kicks it out. Take a couple dribbles in and take that mid-range jumper from the free throw line. It's a much better shot. The Lakers get the offensive rebound and Markieff Morris throws it away. But at the same time, if you're Danny Green, you got to knock that down.
I was surprised whenever LeBron did pass at the end because, I mean, there's so many plays in the game that other people were open and he had coverage and still took the shot. So even just for being the last play of the game, I kind of was surprised. But he had coverage on him, so I can understand why he did pass.
And I tweeted this out before the final possession there. I tweeted out LeBron has to take this shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he has to. It was set up for him to take the shot.
Yeah.
But what do we know of LeBron? He always makes the correct basketball play. Whether it's him taking the shot or not, he makes the correct play. We've seen that his entire career. Spoelstra said in his post-game press conference, hey, LeBron was a man on a mission. He was getting in the lane constantly. People were making shots. We knew he was going to try to drive the lane. So not only did we run a second defender at him, we added a third and a fourth.
Yeah.
And the pictures are out there. You see 4 Miami Heat players around LeBron.
Yeah.
He kicks it out. Like I said, you have to make that shot if you're Danny Green.
Yeah, I think LeBron just thought at that moment that was the best decision that he could make was pass it. Unfortunately, after Game 4, whenever he kind of walked off the court a little early, it seemed like he was just frustrated.
I don't want to hear that nonsense either.
I kind of felt like that was the right call, especially the pass.
Tom Brady walks off the field with 7 seconds left in the game on Thursday night against the Bears, but nobody's bashing Brady for leaving the field early. But everybody wants to hop on LeBron.
Well, of course they do.
I mean, come on now, like let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't,
Heavy is the one that wears the crown.
It'll be interesting to see if the Heat win Game 6 tomorrow night, and you go to Game 7. The amount of pressure that will be on his shoulders is going to be unbelievable. You already have people claiming that he's not the greatest ever. He's in his 10th finals. He's only won 3. They should have beat the Mavericks because the Mavericks didn't have a true or a great team. They just had a great player with Dirk. Couple other times they said that they should have won the finals over the teams that they faced. At the end of the day, he's been to 10 finals. Yeah, he's only won 3. He's not LeBron, or I'm sorry, he's not MJ. He's not Kobe. He's a different player. Yeah. Mark Jackson might have had the best comment ever. When LeBron's done, he'll have the best NBA career out of anybody. Absolutely. Not saying that he's the best player. He'll have the best NBA career. And if you look at the stats, I mean, playoffs alone, he's played in 258 playoff games. 259.
259, I think.
259.
So Game 6 will be the most leading person.
And he's never missed one game. He's top 10 in stats across the board. So I don't necessarily get all the LeBron hate. But yeah, if they don't win Game 6 and it's Game 7 Tuesday night, I tell you what, man, that there's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders to come through, and if he doesn't, oh boy, the LeBron haters will be out in full force.
I mean, both of our predictions went out the window now. Mine had a chance last night. I thought they were going to win. I thought LA was going to win last night just because I felt like after Game 4, yes, Miami won. Or won Game 3, but I felt after Game 4 Miami looked very tired, and I didn't think that was going to give them as much chance to win Game 5 as it did. It was a close game, but I think both teams looked exhausted last night.
You could tell it's been weighing on them. You've been in the bubble for 3 months now. Mm-hmm. You went in the end of July. You started playing in August. We're in the middle of October, so that's a really long time. Yeah. kudos to them. Hell of a series. Miami's been, for a team that wasn't supposed to be in the finals, they get it done. They're well coached. They have gritty, grimy players that just won't go away. You saw that last night, so we'll see how Game 6 pans out moving forward. And then that NFL COVID train is just continuing to roll on through, right?
I think it's going to keep rolling on through.
Unbelievable. A bunch of scheduling, juggling going on right now this week with the NFL. We saw the Bills and Titans game will now be played Tuesday night, which means next Thursday, Bills and Chiefs game moves to Sunday. You now have a doubleheader on Monday night with the Patriots playing in the early Monday night slot. I think at like 5:45 or 5:50 that game kicks off. So you have a doubleheader on Monday, which I'm a fan of. I'll watch a doubleheader on Monday for sure. But yeah, it's just a couple more players tested positive. You saw a Jets player yesterday get tested positive. So right now, that game with Arizona is still on schedule. They were doing testing again yesterday, testing again today. The only thing that sucks for the Cardinals is they have to fly West Coast to East Coast for a 1 o'clock game, which is already bad enough. That's why they were flying out yesterday to kind of get a day and a half acclimated to East Coast time zone.
Okay.
But they weren't able to leave because Jets player tested positive, so we'll see what happens there. Just the wild times. Wild times.
It is, and so is it this Sunday that the Steelers are letting in fans? Okay. So
Steelers are allowed fans in. We saw that with the new mandates. Art Rooney put out a press release. I believe they're going to have around 7,500 fans, maybe, which is under what their max can hold. But they're being cautious the first week out. So yeah, just to go and show you the difference, they're allowed 7,500. Hell, the Dolphins. Florida, you're open. Max capacity, 65,000 people. Yeah. I don't know that they'll let 65,000 people in. They may choose to bring that number down just to play on the safe side. But for Florida, it would be like, nah, we're open. 65,000 fans, let's go.
So I don't know what they're planning on doing for the fans. Like if they're going to be doing testing, as fans go in or what. You've been to Steeler games, right? Okay. How bad is it to get into the Steeler stadium with security and everything?
It's bad.
It takes a long time.
It is.
Can you imagine, granted with the Steelers, if they're only going to do 7,500 people, that it's not going to be as bad. I think that'll have more control to do the testing. But maybe they'll only do it in one gate instead of all the gates too.
I don't even know if they will. I don't even know if they will test fans coming in. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? There's no way you can have a full capacity stadium given these times.
Then do you turn away the fans? So do you turn them? Say they just do temperature checks. Or are you just going to start turning away fans then?
I mean, you would have if you're doing temperature checks. I mean, you would have to if somebody, has a 101 degree temperature at a check. Sorry, you're not allowed in. Yeah. See you later. Bye. And then what? Are you going to do it like how, like how AEW has done it, where you have pods, so families sit together. Mm-hmm. High school wise, we saw that last night. One of the local high schools here, Woodland Hills, they let fans back in for the first time last night. They have a 10,000 seat stadium there down at the Wolverina, and they only gave out 600 tickets. Okay. They marked off seats. Families sat together. Everybody was socially distanced. Masks had to be worn the entire time. So even though they could have given out more tickets, they wanted to be cautious and only let 600 people in. Players got 2 tickets. Cheerleaders got 2 tickets. A piece. Okay. So it was basically just family only.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do here. We've seen fans in the stands at other NFL stadiums. You figured at some point in time they were going to get people back in there just because of the revenue draw of people buying tickets. I don't know what the amount for Steeler games are going for. I don't know. I saw a rumor was like $750 for a ticket.
Not even worth it.
I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need to be there live. Yeah. I can sit on my couch with a beer and wave my towel from my own home.
I used to like going to Steeler games, but probably the past 5 years, I went to one. I went to a preseason game. I think it was last year or the year before, and I said that's going to be the last game I go to, because I stopped going because every time I went, my uncle has season tickets.
And we went to a couple preseason.
He has really good seats, and I just always hated whenever I went. Every game I got beer spilled on me. Every game you got to deal with so many drunk people. Every game you got to deal with the crowd getting in and everything. And I used to like going to preseason games because the crowd wasn't as bad. You know, it never really filled, the whole stadium never really filled up, so you could spread out. You know, parking was decent. The game I went to last year was just like a regular season game for preseason. And I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm done.
So I've gone the last couple of years. My mother-in-law gets tickets from somebody that she works with, and we sit in what used to be the closed end zone, even though they closed off the other open end. Yeah. But we sit in that section there about 20, 25 rows back, and that section of fans, I haven't had any issues.
That's good.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's just that particular section or what, but I mean, everybody's been super nice, respectful of each other. You haven't had any of those issues that you hear horror stories about, not just at Steeler games, but anywhere. But so
you get at the Penguin games too.
Yeah, we'll see going forward. So yeah, a lot of juggling schedule-wise. NFL, we'll see if all these games go off without a hitch. They're starting to run out of room with scheduling. I said it last week. You're going to run into a time where you're not going to be able to shift games around. Yeah. We'll see they're investigating the Patriots and the Titans now for their violations. They're allowed to view surveillance footage from the facilities and these players. I know Bud Dupree came out from the Steelers and was like, I go to practice, occasionally go to a grocery store, and I stay home. That's the message that we were given, and we followed that to a T. So at the end of the day, it comes down to accountability. Mm-hmm. If you want to play and you want to get paid, because now they're talking about you cancel games, you don't get paid, which as a player, hey, I want my game check.
Yeah.
So
it sucks, but I think that's probably the best route they can go, to try to get these guys to stay in line.
Yeah, absolutely. And then college football on this Saturday, some big time games that don't have a whole lot of hype this year because of the teams and how they've played. The Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, Texas, that's going on as we record now. That Oklahoma's lost 2 in a row, Texas lost, so that game doesn't have the normal luster it normally does. Same with Florida State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's number 5 in the country. Florida State is just a huge mess right now. As a Florida State fan, it's been hard to watch this year. So you have that game that's not as hyped up as it normally is. The big one, 2 of the big ones that are going to be hopefully good games. You have Georgia and Tennessee. That I think will be a good game. Tennessee comes in, wanting to prove themselves and see if they're officially back in the SEC. You have North Carolina, Virginia Tech. That's another top 25 matchup. North Carolina is ranked in the top 10 under Mac Brown. We'll see if them with their stud sophomore quarterback Sam Howell can live up to the hype there. And then tonight's game, Clemson, Miami, in what looks to be going to be played in a monsoon of a rainstorm. So that may change up how things go, but that's a top 10 matchup, number 1 versus number 7. That'll be on ABC tonight, so that'll be a good game to tune into for a nightcap.
Sounds good.
Yep. Anything else you want to bring up in sports this week?
I think we covered it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, again, relax, put your feet up, enjoy a full slate of college football today. Big Ten comes back to playing 2 weeks from now, so that'll add in some more intrigue with teams coming. Pac-12 starts in November, And, NFL, we'll see if they get a full slate of games in this week. And that has been This Week in Sports.
All right, boys and girls, I think that's going to be it for the Dumb Marks this week. If you haven't gone and watched it yet, me and Steve did a night one of the WWE Draft predictions. We actually did a video podcast for that on YouTube, so check it out on YouTube or anywhere else on our social media that we posted it. Go back and maybe even watch some of our other videos that we had recently posted. We're going to try to keep doing some of that content for you each week as well. Other than that, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube and everywhere else podcasts are available. As you know, we're available on Apple, Google, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and basically everywhere podcasts can be found. Steve, you got anything else for the night?
Yeah, and, subscribe, rate, review, as Chris said, everywhere you can find podcasts. And you can also reach us via email now. So the Dumb Marks has an email address. It is dumbmarkspod@gmail.com. That is dumbmarkspod@gmail.com. Send in your emails. Shoot us some questions, remarks, what you like, what you don't like about the show. We'll compile those together and read some of those on the air here. We want positive or constructive criticism. Give us feedback. We're open to suggestions. We love to hear from you guys. What works, what doesn't work. We're all about pleasing you when you guys tune in and listen to us each week. So we thank you for that. And then just to wrap up the show this week, Chris, since it is World Mental Health Day today, and as a person that has and deals with panic attacks and anxiety issues myself here, Court Bauer from MLW tweeted out, "You never know what someone is dealing with. A lot of people suffer in silence, especially given these uncertain times. Treat people with kindness, check in with friends and loved ones, take care of yourselves. It costs nothing, and you may help someone." So again, keep your mental health in check. It's huge. There's nothing more important for you and your loved ones. So reach out to everybody, stay healthy, and until next time, you can catch us around the way.